So after another topsy-turvy game week, it's time for my game week 13 transfer tips. So we're going to be looking at who we should be buying this week, who we should be holding, and who should we be selling going into game week 13. So if you do like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you are new. With all that being said, let's get straight into the video. So let's start with those transfers in then, and the strikers in particular. It was a difficult game week for strikers. There wasn't that many goals about, but two players that did return and get the goals were Thiago and Danny Welbeck. And they're two players that I would be very tempted to bring in this week. Both of them relatively good on the price point option. You're looking at 6.5 and 6.6 million. And there isn't a whole lot to choose from in that striker range, so it'd be good to save some money. And they come in a lot cheaper than the likes of your Jean-Philippe Mateta, João Pedro, Gyökeres when he's fit, and even like your Ekitikes as well. Thiago did miss a penalty in that last game that he played, but he did get a goal regardless of that. And he's still putting up very impressive numbers and probably one of the more consistent strikers this season. Somebody I'm still trying to get into my team. Depending on if I free hit or not, I might not be able to get him in this week as well. But he's somebody I would really want in my team going forward. And Brentford's fixtures are certainly up and down. They've got a great immediate fixture with Burnley at home. Two difficult fixtures, obviously, then with Arsenal away, Tottenham away. They're not ideal. But then Leeds and Wolves thereafter. Thiago as well, at the price point, you're happy to rotate him around if need be. But I think he's proven that he can be consistent through any of these fixtures that are thrown at Brentford. Welbeck as well, another one who just continues to perform week in, week out, regardless of the fixtures. Just incredibly sort of consistent, and surprisingly the minutes are very consistent with him as well, which has probably been one of the main caveats when we talk about Danny Welbeck. It's just whether he's going to be rotated and whether he's going to be fit, but he's putting in some impressive minutes as well. So another player that I do really like going forward, certainly with a mixed fixture list for Brighton as well. There are some good fixtures in there for Danny Welbeck to take advantage of. Sticking with Brighton then and into the midfield, and we've got Yankuba Minteh, somebody I brought in last week and was very, very impressed with him. 2 assists and now I believe leading assists in the Premier League for the season with 7. Still only the 1 goal, so he could obviously improve on that area of the pitch, but those assists are making him almost unmissable, certainly at a good price point at 6.1 million. And then I've also wanted to look at Bryan Mbeumo as well. It's probably put a few people off after a very odd performance from Manchester United against Everton and a 10-men Everton for most of that game. But I don't think we should be too put off, as Bryan Mbeumo has showed how well he can perform, not only in previous seasons, but this season he has turned a slow start into a pretty respectable season, like he always does, to be honest. And there's some good fixtures there to come up. With Crystal Palace away isn't the ideal entry point, but still you've got some great fixtures after that, and there's still a lot of potential for Bryan Mbeumo in that Crystal Palace fixture as well. Just a solid pick, I think, and I don't think we should be put off by the Everton game at all. Then in defence, Nico O'Reilly's an interesting one. I think it's a great time to jump onto Manchester City players. It's just picking those players that we can sort of guarantee the minutes of. Leeds at home is a perfect entry point. Fulham away is good as well. Fulham have struggled this season. Then you've got Sunderland at home after that. Crystal Palace away, probably the hardest out of all of those fixtures. And then a brilliant one with West Ham United at home. So it's a really good time to be jumping on Manchester City players. Nico O'Reilly's minutes are going to be an interesting one. He's now had, I believe it's 8 starts in 9 games. So the starts are there for him. And I just think it's sort of those time with those fixtures that we do take a risk on a few of these Manchester City players. There is, if you want those sort of concrete minutes, you maybe look for somebody like Gvardiol in the defence. But I just love the upside for Nico O'Reilly with the attacking returns. Gvardiol isn't playing that position at left back this season, so his attacking returns aren't there. And even as a centre back, his DEFCON points aren't there. And that's usually the case with any Manchester City centre-back. They just do not seem to get those DEFCON returns. Matheus Nunes is a potential option also on the right back position as well. But Nico O'Reilly has proven over recent weeks that he has a lot of points potential and a real high ceiling at that. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about Jurrien Timber. Going on from last week, the Gabriel replacements, there was obviously Van Dijk and Timber were two of the main ones that we were talking about. Timber was probably the better option. He did get an assist last week, and then Van Dijk did get a DEFCON. So you are talking about 5 and 3 points, so not much difference. But I do worry about the Liverpool defence going forward, especially after performance like that against Nottingham Forest. And even with Gabriel out, I think the Arsenal defence have proven that they can still perform at a very high level and keep those clean sheets. And they were probably unlucky not to against Tottenham. It was just a fantastic 45 yard lob from Richarlison which broke that clean sheet for Arsenal. So I don't think there's any cause for concern with Gabriel's injury, and Timber is a great place to look at to stay sort of connected with that Arsenal defence. So let's move on to the players to hold, and Nick Voltemade is up first with Manchester City being his last game, and he did blank and he could have come away with some goals in that game. He had two pretty decent one-on-one chances which he couldn't convert either of them, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. He's looked like a solid option for our FPL teams, as he has looked really good for Newcastle since coming in. There's been a few blips, but nothing major. I think he's adapted to the Premier League really well, and with Newcastle fixtures coming up, I think he is a reasonable option to hold as well. He was rested in midweek. I think it was more of a resting rather than a benching. Gordon came in to play up top and Harvey Barnes kept his place on the left wing. I don't think that's something we're going to see translate into the Premier League. I think Voltemade will be coming back in. More than likely, Harvey Barnes will be sort of taking his place back on the bench as Gordon goes back on the left. So I wouldn't really worry too much about Nick Voltemade's minutes going forward, and certainly a player that if we have, he wouldn't be a priority transfer out. I think there's some returns just around the corner for him. And you could say the same about Jean-Philippe Mateta. I think there is returns around the corner for him. A little bit frustrating that he came off in the 59th minute in the last game. But I think that's been a frequent story with Mateta. He's not a player that plays 90 minutes every week. He does get sort of earlier subs every now and then. But I think when you look at the Crystal Palace fixtures, Manchester United at home could be a good fixture for them. You know, they've been very effective at home, and Manchester United's unpredictability, that might suit Palace certainly. And then you've got two great fixtures thereafter with Burnley away and Fulham away. Yes, they're away fixtures, but they're two of the better away fixtures in the Premier League at the moment. So I'd be happy to keep Mateta in for those. He's not sort of a player I'd be looking to bring in. I think the two I mentioned before in Welbeck and Thiago represent better value for money. But if you're there like me actually with Jean-Philippe Mateta sat in your team, I would just sit and hold on to him for now. Then Antoine Semenyo is an interesting one. Obviously we're all interested in the injury he picked up in the international duty. And we thought that was going to be the reason why he might miss out. It was touch and go. But it turns out he did miss out in the last game week due to illness rather than that injury. So he's the sort of player that I would look to continue to hold, because it only being the illness, and as long as that injury doesn't affect him going forward, because apparently he has been nursing it over previous game weeks. He's been such an effective player already this season. I don't think there's any reason why that can't stop. He is that talisman for Bournemouth. And then the Bournemouth fixtures, certainly in the next two, are two games where I wouldn't mind playing Antoine Semenyo, with Sunderland away and Everton at home. They're not the worst fixtures at all. And when we talk about maybe replacing Antoine Semenyo, I don't think it's high. It shouldn't be high on people's priority list. I think there's there's probably more problems in your team that you have to address before Antoine Semenyo, and he will be back at it, I'm pretty sure, within the next couple of weeks. Maybe just wait to see in the press conference with Bournemouth on Friday, and then we can take some information from that. If we hear there that he is injured, and we can look to get rid of him then, but for now, certainly a hold. Then Bukayo Saka is another one that I would be looking to hold. Eberechi Eze took all the headlines this week, obviously due to his hat-trick against Tottenham in the North London derby, but I don't think we should be panicking on Bukayo Saka just yet. He is on penalties, which is a nice little bonus. And to be honest, in the next game week or two, we could be looking at sort of Saka with the haul rather than somebody like Eberechi Eze. So I would look to keep him just for now. Then sticking with the Arsenal theme then in the defence, and Calafiori is somebody I would certainly look to be holding on to. Him and Virgil van Dijk are two of the most highly transferred out defenders this game week so far, which I certainly don't understand the Calafiori one more so. Like I said about Jury and Timber, I think that Arsenal defence is certainly a defence we still want to be involved with. We still want to represent that defence and get the points, because the clean sheets will still be there even with Gabriel missing. There was obviously a bit of an injury doubt ahead of the North London derby with Calafiori, but continue to start. He's not somebody who's going to get high DEFCON points, and he doesn't actually have the attacking return that sort of a player like Jurriën Timber would have on the other side. But we're looking for representatives in that Arsenal team, and if you're holding Calafiori, he's somebody that I would look to hold in the near future as well, because the clean sheets will come and they will remain for Arsenal. Then finally in the holds is Virgil van Dijk, which is an interesting one. A lot of us brought him in, including myself, thinking, oh, this is a fantastic fixture run now for Liverpool. They can go on and get a few clean sheets. It wasn't the case. They got absolutely dismantled by Nottingham Forest, and that's probably what's putting people off and probably forcing the sell of Virgil van Dijk. I don't completely agree with it. I understand the frustration, but West Ham away is one of the best away fixtures you can get in the Premier League this season. I've got that feeling that sometimes at some point Liverpool will turn this around. I'm having my doubts on that now. But with Virgil van Dijk, you've got a player that is pretty much guaranteed DEFCON most games. He's got attacking threat from corners. The numbers don't suggest it, but I think we all know from the past how effective Virgil van Dijk can be from the corners, and he's got a couple of Champions League goals already this season from those corners. There is clean sheet potential there against a team like West Ham as well. And the security of minutes of Virgil van Dijk, you know he's guaranteed to play going forward. So I don't think there's immediate panic needed with a player like Virgil van Dijk. And for me, he's somebody I would certainly look to hold over the next couple of weeks. And let's just see how Liverpool can get on from there. So it's time for the sells then, and João Pedro tops that list for me in the forward line. The Chelsea fixtures upcoming do not look the greatest. They've got some difficult fixtures with a home game against Arsenal and away trips to Bournemouth and Newcastle in the next 5. You've got to also take into consideration sort of the blanks that João Pedro has put in this season. He's had some very poor performances with poor attacking output and poor XG and XA in these games. The 2 goals in the last 3 games is probably masked over that a little bit, but it was back to drawing a blank in the last game week for Chelsea against Burnley for João Pedro. I just think your money's better spent in a player like Thiago, and I do like jumping off to Thiago or even Danny Welbeck, saving that sort of £1 million and just getting out of Chelsea while their fixture run does start to turn for the worst. Following that, we've got Hugo Ekitike. I think the minutes there are the biggest issue. Isak did start the last game. Obviously, Liverpool were put to the sword by Nottingham Forest, so we could easily see Ekitike return to the starting lineup in the next game. But the minutes are a huge risk, even with Liverpool's great fixture run. You've got the sort of the downturn in form of Liverpool. Caveat that with the fact that you can't guarantee Ekitike is going to start, and you've got some like the great options I've mentioned already who are nailed for minutes, and you on top of João Pedro, if you're getting rid of Ekitike for somebody like Thiago, you're saving 2 million there, which could be better put to use somewhere else. So for me, I think Ekitike is a sell at this stage. After that, we've got Mohamed Kudus, who I talked about last week. It's not a bad fixture up next for Tottenham with Fulham at home. So I wouldn't begrudge you if you wanted to hold on for him one more week. But Kudus thereafter then has a pretty difficult run of fixtures with Newcastle away, Brentford at home, Nottingham Forest away, who are certainly starting to pick up their form, and then Liverpool at home. I don't think his attacking output's even been there, and I think there's better options like Yankuba Minteh that you could jump to, save a little bit of money there as well, and there's a lot better sort of attack in return, expected assists, expected goals. Just not a huge fan of the way Mohamed Kudus has played for Tottenham this year. He's had moments, don't get me wrong, and there's going to be a few of you out there who are glad about the returns he has had. I just don't think he's an option going forward for us. Then, speaking of options not going forward, I think Caicedo's best points are pretty much behind him now. Obviously, he was rested in the last game, which also brings you another problem. There's a lot of rotation at Chelsea and a lot of resting at the moment, maybe off the back of the Club World Cup in the summer. So I think Caicedo, we've been very lucky with his attacking returns from the start of the season. He's pretty much nailed for DEFCON, maybe 2 out of 3 games. He does put up pretty decent numbers in that terms, but I don't think with that fixture list either we can expect too many attacking returns from Caicedo going forward. And like I say, at 6.1 million, you could easily have somebody like Yankuba Minteh at Brighton, who has a pretty decent attacking output so far this season and attacking threat to sort of sustain going forward. Then in the defensive line, somebody who's really frustrated me actually. I brought in Reece James a few weeks ago with the hope to target some of the good fixtures Chelsea had. But then obviously you're looking at the last 2 games and he was benched for the one prior to the international break. And then this last game against Burnley, he was taken off 45 minutes into the game. So 2 games where Chelsea did keep clean sheets, but Reece James did not get any points regarding those clean sheets. And it's very frustrating as an owner. You're bringing in Reece James for those clean sheets, on top of that his attacking threat as well. But if he's not on the pitch to even keep the clean sheets, impose himself in an attacking sense, then what is the point in owning Reece James at all? So for me now, 5.6 million, probably going to drop to 5.5 this week. It's a lot of money to have in your team, certainly in your defence, tied up in a defender that you can't guarantee he's going to play, and he's not going to get you the points week in, week out. Then obviously let's end with Gabriel. If any of you still holding Gabriel, was waiting to hear the news, maybe was a bit late in catching up, Gabriel is going to be out for a number of weeks. So he's already dropped by 0.2 million already from Friday. So I think it's now time to get rid of him, jump onto another asset for now. Maybe you look to the Manchester City defenders because of their fixtures, but Gabriel will be out for a few weeks. When he's back, obviously we can all look to bring him back in, but for now he's most certainly a sell. So those are the transfer tips for Game Week 13 then. So if they did help you at all, please hit the like button, subscribe if you are new. The next video will be the team selection video. I'll probably run through a free hit as well. It's a very popular chip to use this week, so I think that could help out as well. So make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss it, and I will see you in the next video.